Hello, and welcome to another episode of In My Experience with yours truly, Christine DeGinto. This podcast is a space where I speak from lived experience. The moments that shaped me, challenged me, and changed the way that I understand myself in the world. The awakenings, the breakdowns, the moments that cracked me open, asked me to stay present, be embodied, and be honest with myself. I share my stories not to persuade or define truth for anyone else, but to offer perspective, to explore the gray areas we don't often have language for, to slow things down and listen more closely to what's happening beneath the surface. You'll hear solo episodes where I reflect on my own initiations, spiritual gifts, and the systems that tried to define me. And conversations with guests who have walked strange, beautiful, and sometimes painful paths of their own and come back with wisdom to share with us. I invite you to take what resonates, leave the rest, and trust your own experience as valid. Thank you for being here. This is In My Experience. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of In My Experience. Today I have a conversation to share that was recorded back in February, on the 27th of February, with Marie Zancanaro, an energy healer and spiritual teacher who has been doing this work for over 50 years. We talk about psychic children, telepathy, energetic boundaries, mediumship, entities, thought forms, parenting sensitive kids, and the importance of learning how to turn our intuitive abilities on and off instead of constantly living in a state of energetic overwhelm. This episode goes into some very spiritual and metaphysical territory, and as always, this podcast is simply a space where we share lived experiences, perspectives, and personal beliefs. Take what resonates, leave the rest. I will say this conversation deeply shifted the way that I think about sensitivity, healing, and even the way we unintentionally exchange energy with the people around us. So settle in. Let's get into it. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Oh my gosh. I took a nap after our session yesterday. I took a nap and I thought maybe I should just close my eyes. I imagined it would be probably 45 minutes, but it was like 4 hours. And then and then I woke up and I pottered around a little bit and cleaned up a little bit, but I was really just focused on sleeping. And thank God I cleaned sheets because that's my favorite thing when I'm going to sleep. I invested in some linen sheets and I have grounding mat underneath them. And I really
hmm
love and a nice crystal grid around my bed too. But I
hmm
try to have a nice peaceful atmosphere to sleep and get some restful sleep. But it was very nice. So many different pieces of the puzzle are coming in, and I'm not gonna say it's like easy because the emotions that are tied to them are still
Take a
present.
breath. It takes a few days.
Yeah, and that's exactly uh, at least I'm being patient with myself. I feel like
hmm
I things lined up, and my daughter's going away for the weekend with her dad, so that's going to give me some space. I'm looking around at the things I'm going to do, which is primarily cleaning. That gets me excited. I really like to be organized and, feel fresh and have a nice clean space, like energetically too. So, yeah, it's going to be
I
good.
think that's space is very important. People don't realize that, but a lot of times if you build your own house, decorate your own house, and someone walks in, they'll be looking at your crown chakra.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if
Yeah.
you walk into the house my daughter built, it's gold, turquoise, and white. It's like
Yeah.
they paint their chakra colors.
That's interesting. Well, I'm renting where I am right now, so I didn't even paint anything. It's just like flat wall paint. Every
Mhm.
little scuff mark is visible, but it's interesting because I paint sometimes for income. My dad has a
Mhm.
carpentry business, and when he gets jobs where it's like updating different things and painting
Mhm.
is needed, he calls me in because I'm quite good. And it's just a nice way to make money. I like doing that. Like I think I was talking about this with you yesterday. I get energy when I see progress,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm able to like work as a team, especially with other people, and we're coming together and I can see the progress being done, it gives me the energy. Like it's not even my energy, it's just flows through me to like can keep going. It's fun. It's kind of a fun for me, but yeah.
I've always enjoyed that too. I don't know if I told you before, but I had a dream when I was 19. I walked backwards over 9 graves, and every time I stepped a step, things went from more black and white to more color. And then I remembered being a jeweler in Switzerland in this shop, and I was a man, and I was sitting there, and I knew what he was thinking and everything. And I woke up, and I knew how to do fine jewelry.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
I
you were able to pull
contacted
that through
Yes,
your
I
past life.
contacted
Yeah.
this major jeweler, Botonley Jewelers, from the Orient, and I wound up making $35,000 pieces.
Wow. Wow. That is so incredible. I wanted to also take a moment to introduce you. Today, we're pleased to announce we have the pleasure of meeting Marie Zancanaro. I worked with her twice before in the past 3 years, I would say,
Hmm.
and we just worked together yesterday. I would love to be able to share the recording of that if you're open to that. I feel open to that. I would
If you
feel
feel comfortable with it, it's fine.
yeah, it's so helpful for me to express through the lens of other healers. Like when I have readings with people, the things that I find difficult to say, other people have no issue at all saying. And I feel like it really it kind of like brings out the pieces of vulnerability, like sharing the vulnerability and just being seen. I think it's important.
In from my view, when you're doing a healing that involves, mediumship channeling, you have to say exactly what you're told. I learned this early on. Sometimes I would think, oh, I don't want to say that, so maybe I'll just soften or something, and the person would look like stunned, like I don't understand what you're talking about. And then I would say exactly what I was told, and then go, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. So I begin to realize is like even if it's something very weird, just say it. And so now I'm not very shy at all about just, blurting it out.
Good. That is one of the hardest things that I personally have also found. It's like the things that come to you, most of it for my whole life, I thought it was just in my own head. But most of it is just stuff I'm channeling, picking up from all over the waves, all over, like you were saying, multi-channel. I've never heard
Mhm.
that description, but it makes a lot of sense. And I agree because it's a collection of things. It's like songs, it's words, it's thoughts, it's feelings, and it's none of it's mine.
Yeah, I call it multiple scanning.
Yeah, okay.
It
Multiple
is
scanning.
because everybody's sending out a beam of energy, everyone. So there you've got, 8 billion people sending out beams of energy. And people that are sensitive, they can pick up anything that they have some resonance with. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're an abused person, you could pick up people's streams of energy that have been abused. If you're an artist and you love art more than anything, you might pick up other streams of art information.
Mm-hmm.
And but then with these little kids that I've worked with, and they're on 100 channels, and so they're jumpy and nervous, and they're trying to track this and that, and it seems like they're not paying attention, but they're just having too much input at one time.
Yeah, they're actually hyper aware,
They're
but it's
hyper aware, right?
yeah, yeah,
Right.
to the different levels that many others are not perceived. There, it's imperceivable to them. So then they just think they're not paying attention. But yeah, totally. And we talked a couple of days ago, Marie and I was so impressed and so glad to hear that you have been working with people to help guide their children who have
Hmm.
not, I don't want to use the word difficulties, but yeah, to be honest, difficulties in navigating how to function in this reality on this frequency and maintain our own frequencies without the interference. And I would love to hear more about that. Please
Well,
share.
there's no training for the energetic world. It's like we pretend that doesn't exist. And although there's signs everywhere that it does exist, and everybody experiences everything from dreams of falling or to, to anything, or kids just simply saying stuff that Doesn't make any sense that the child should know that. So there's these indicators, and then we pretend it doesn't exist. But a lot of times children are very, very psychic. Sometimes they grow out of it, sometimes they grow stronger. And if we don't operate with the idea that they can be interdimensional and they can be experiencing these things, then they're lost. And a lot of times people they fall back on drugging the kid. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Or it results in soul loss of the child being traumatized repeatedly and not listened, not heard. And I can say that personally, my daughter, I saw that she was sensitive to things, and the only reason my mind was able to conceive that that's a possibility is because I was watching her react, to looking around at things in the room and different things that she said. Like she described a lynching at 2 years
Hmm.
old. Like
Hmm.
she's seeing things that I can't see and that almost, up until that moment couldn't even imagine, but I also couldn't deny it. And I wanted to support her and make her feel safe in what she was perceiving because obviously these things were very scary. We were struggling. She was having night terrors, lots of stuff. But this happens and we many times as parents we're trained to just be like, "Oh, it's just a nightmare. Oh, there's no monster under your bed." Well, maybe you just can't see it,
Maybe there is. I've
you
had a
know?
few that there was an entity under the bed. One little boy
Yep.
would not sleep with it unless he had his shoes on because he was concerned about this thing that he thought looked like a alligator biting his feet. Um,
Jeez. Yeah.
and it was an entity under his bed.
Yeah, and it's very real to them, and it's
Well,
very
it's
real
real
in other,
anyway.
it's real anyway. It's just that the parent can't see it. So they're like, "Oh, there's
Mhm.
nothing wrong." But we have to stop. We have to stop and think and trust our children because children are so natural in what they say. Like you said, if they're saying some weird things, it's like, "Where did you get this from?" And that's how you find out that they're connected. That's how you find out that miracles are real. That's how you find out, in a lot of ways, having children opened me up spiritually just by observing them and
Mhm.
being in
Mhm.
my inner child, playing with them, and different things like that. So, yeah, kids are such a gift to this world, and it's so important to help them.
Yeah, they need help and they need understanding. I had a little boy that they brought a little ficus tree into his yard, into his room to make it look, more organic. And then he wouldn't sleep in the room and he was having trouble being in there. And I guess then they took the ficus tree out of the room and then they called me because it was still having some problems. So I went into his room and I saw this little creature, which I've heard are called Orioles. They look like puffs of light, a little bit like a gargoyle, and they tend to hang out in trees. So I said, "Did you bring a tree into his room?" And they said, "Yeah." And I said, "Then you took it out pretty quickly, huh?" And they said, "I guess." I said, "Bring it in, leave it there for a day, then move it out very slowly." So they did. Then the little creature went back into the tree, was fine. They took it out. The little boy was happy in his room.
My goodness. Yeah. And it makes so much sense when you describe it that way. Everything is it's so interesting having worked with you, Marie. The Like I kept mentioning yesterday, the timing of when you would describe something, it's the same time that I'm visualizing it. And I know that
Hmm.
that's not a coincidence. I know it's because your ability to see, but it's
Oh,
so
that's your extreme psychic ability.
yeah, it's so interesting. I've been I would say on societally gaslit is the term I'm using out of trusting my intuition and leaning into my abilities. I was told along the lines like that's not real. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I started to believe that. And I'm still working on coming out of that, but
In an unusual twist of fate, people would say to me, "That's not real," because they say, "I can't see that, so it's not real." And then
mhm.
I would think, "Well, I can see it, so that means it is real."
Yes.
And I just never could quite grasp why they were saying it wasn't real when it's, interactive and it's in front of me.
Yeah.
So from a very young age, I knew that everything that I was seeing is real. But the question is with our children and even with ourselves, is not whether it's real. That's the wrong question. It's
Mm-hmm.
whether it's relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you might, if you want a house, you may think of a house in your head. Is that real? Yes. You might draw that on a piece of paper. Is that real? Yes. You might then have someone do a rendering and then they build the house. And in every step of that, that is real. And that's in a lot of ways, children see things in these various different phases of construction. Um, is it relevant? If they see a blue blob float through their room, is it relevant? Probably not. Is it dangerous? Probably not. 99% of the time, no, that's not dangerous. It's just stuff. It's a lot like if you were driving a car and you look out and there's a blur, and then you slow down and you see a dandelion. That's not a sudden discovery. It has been there all the time. It's not even rare or unusual or maybe not even particularly spiritual. It's just something that you slowed down enough to grasp a clear image of.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because in my understanding, having awakened a little bit later in life and never really, I personally don't have the clairvoyance of apparitions like in my physical space. That doesn't happen for me. At most, it's peripheral. Usually it's inner vision. So it's like I can
Mhm.
just imagine it. I see it in my mind. But that is also very real. But it's the remote viewing aspect of the different dimensions. But it's so fascinating what I realized. I finally understood like particle physics, or what's it called?
String theory or
Yeah, like all of the different, it's like everything exists all at once and it's all happening right. Like you could have a T-Rex walking through your living room right now. And it's like,
right, right.
it's just, it all made sense at that moment. I was like, oh, I get it. And so being able to see and sense on those different levels, I should not discredit myself. Like I'm just able to see on that level sometimes. In the lower 4D stuff, um, I have seen some things with my eyes, but it's not everyday thing.
Well, I tell people before you freak out or disregard what you're looking at or what you're feeling. So I tell people when you see something, the first thing you should do is just say, huh, isn't that interesting? How does this feel?
Hmm.
That gives you time to, first of all, not freak out, but also then to really just feel it.
Hmm.
I woke up one time and there were these football-sized blue balls, so kind of an aquamarine globe or ball, in my room, and there was like 20 of them. They were just floating
Wow.
around,
Yeah.
and oh, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
You
I
know,
love that. I love that.
um, does that feel harmful? Not at all. Watched them for a minute or two, and then they went away. I don't know what that's for. If
Yeah.
it's important, something I should learn from it, I'll download it, and then I'll wake up a few days later, and it'll be there. Otherwise, it's just random,
Yeah.
like
It's so
space junk.
it's so interesting how often we get work done on an energetic and spiritual level while we sleep, like our DNA
Mhm.
upgrades and things
Mhm.
along those lines. I know for several months during my initial awakening, I woke up many nights drenched in sweat, and it's not because I'm hot. It's because I'm just trying to process these different things that are going on. It's so fascinating. I find it uh to be like the only logical reason is spirit anymore in
Mhm.
so many different aspects of my life, even my physical body. It's like, why don't I feel well? Oh, well, I'm processing a lot of emotions and energy, and let me check in with this. It's never like, oh, I think I have the flu. You know what I mean? I've like flipped over to the light side, the spiritual side, I feel like in many different ways.
If I become ill, I like to sit with it a while before I rush to quote unquote cure it to
Mhm.
see what is going on energetically. And sometimes there is something. Sometimes it's just something you picked up from someone else. And I'm not talking about a virus, a thought form, or an energy. Or sometimes people tap you on the back or something and it feels like weird, like they don't know me that well, but they are grabbing some of your energy stream. And sometimes
Mm,
they'll leave like a print from their hand. I've seen these when I've taken things off people. And so then there's this dip in their energy, and if your immune system's a little bit weak, and then you might succumb to a cold or something. You take
mhm,
that all away, you take away the distraction of your energy being pulled out, and the person regains, their equilibrium. They feel better.
mhm, mhm.
Uh,
You've been doing this for over 50 years.
I'm 72. I started doing healing work when I was 13.
Wow.
I
So,
was a religious fanatic when I was 13. I was very, very Catholic, very fanatic, but I was also reading yoga and hatha yoga and doing these different practices. At first I refused. My parents were going nuts because they wanted me to read the Bible, so I did read the Bible, and then I refused to do anything that was in the laws of Leviticus, like we can't put pork on a plate, we can't eat that, that's unclean.
mhm.
It
And
was
then they were like,
driving them crazy. They're saying, yes, you can eat your pork chops. I'm like, no, that's unclean. Actually, to this day, I really don't eat pork,
For
but
yes, same. Yeah.
yeah.
That's because it seems so interesting. I'm glad that you followed your intuition and had also the type of life plan where you were supported in that also and had that ex like the it seems so such a natural intuitive path that many people are following now, leaving Christianity perhaps and going in more to like spirituality and meditation and different things along those lines. But at that time, excuse me, at that time and at your age to be considering those things, it's you were clearly like anchoring in, this lifetime of being able to do all of this energy work and helping so many people. It's just beautiful. I can see all the different like specks of impact that you've had on the cosmic web, and it's just beautiful.
Well, anybody that wants to heal and has a certain amount of spiritual strength, there will be people sent to them, no matter where they are. And I, at one point in my life, and it maybe 40 years ago, I decided to really take responsibility. So I made this statement, from a very heartfelt place. I'm now willing to be the spiritual authority that I am. And when
Hmm.
you do that, when you like stand up to your angels and say, "Yeah, I am here, bring it on. I will do whatever I can for whoever I can." But it was interesting after I did that, I had very weird encounters of people just coming up to me. And
Hmm.
my mother and I went to this tiny little town of Langoy in Oregon to the tiny little cafe. I said, let's go in because they couldn't have much business. So we in this town, so let's go buy a coffee for them at least from them at least. So we went in and we're the only two people in there sitting having coffee. And this young man walked in, looked at me, came over, sat down at the table, and turns to me and says, my brother killed himself jumping off a building. Can you tell me where his spirit is? Okay.
Wow.
I had never seen
Oh,
him before.
wow.
So we talked for an hour and a half, and then he left and I never saw him again. But
Yeah.
I've had things
Wow.
like that happen quite a
Hmm.
bit in my lifetime.
Hmm. I love to hear stories like that. The moments of openness and honesty, vulnerability on your part and on their part,
Mm.
to reach out and then also to receive information and then for you to receive it and to provide it and how helpful all of that is, the connections that are made. I just love it. That's why I'm so glad to listen to you. Could you tell me what in your mind are some ways that parents with children that are gifted in their senses, how we could better support them just based on like things that you have experienced?
Well, I think the first thing is pay close attention, begin to observe your child, If they seem jumpy, if they seem they're not resting well, if there's something going on, then talk to them. What does this feel like? Um, uh, what is bothering you? I mean, I had two little boys. They were not twins, but they were being treated by twins, and they both were very psychic, had a lot of energy around them. And I did some work on them. When I was leaving, I had a feeling the little one had a question for me. So I said, "Is there a question you have?" And big tears start to roll down his face. And he said, "Can you tell me where I start and my brother ends?" And the energy of the two of them was so intense that he couldn't find his physical self separate from his brother. So
Mm.
I just turned to the mom and I said, "How many rooms do you have in this house? Bedrooms." And she said, "We have a lot." So I said, "Well, maybe it's time to get them in separate rooms,
Mm-hmm.
because he literally can't tell. They're both so telepathic and they're both so empathetic. He couldn't tell where he is."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's fascinating. I can resonate with that as a projector in human design. Different people have told me that I'm not supposed to sleep next to even animals because I'm
Hmm.
constantly pulling in energy and then I don't actually rest. And then I'm also taking on their
Stuff.
struggles and strife, all their stuff. So, and it's like I can resonate having wondering where you end and begin. Yeah, that's
Sometimes someone has a young child all the way up to like a mid-teen child, and the child is restless, they're argumentative, they're angry for unexplained reasons. They've got all this stuff going on. And when I look at these kids, I think, okay, that kid is so over revved. Where does all that energy come from? And the answer is not what people think. They think, "Oh, less sugar." No, it's not that. It's coming from mom. Because if the mother gets frustrated with the kid, a little bit angry, but then they feel like they should be empathetic and they pull the kid's energy into their body so that they feel the emotions of the child in them. That bridges them together, and then the kid can drain energy from the mom. So then you have this child that's running on two sets of energetics, and the mom's completely tapped out.
hmm
Then if I train the mom, just like, no, pull your energy back like you're a surgeon. And you're like looking at him, but you're not like, I don't have to feel that in my body. Just, oh, he looks nervous. He looks this or looks that. You're going to cut off that stream of energy that he's taking that he shouldn't have, or her is taking and they shouldn't have. And then they're just running on their own. So they calm down,
hmm
you know, and they're
hmm
not picking up your anger. They're not picking up your anxiety. They're not picking up your fear. So then now they start being a natural, normal child. Um,
Yes,
so
yes.
it's
That's
management, it's energy management between the mom and the children. They say, "Well, I have to do that. I have to feel this in my body. I can't avoid that." Yes, you can. You just say, "I'm no longer willing to do that. I'm going to draw a line of light, and nobody should be taking my energy
hmm
at work, at
hmm
home, anywhere, children or no,
hmm
husband, anybody."
Yes. Just like when an airplane's going down, you have to put your own oxygen mask on to be able
Right,
to help anyone else. Like you see in
right,
movies.
exactly.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. And it's so funny. You're very natural at you are a natural at going through, examining, finding the symptoms, finding an easy solution. And it just makes sense. And you just verbalize that. And I'm sure how I'm sure most of your clients are quite receptive to your advice. That's why they're coming to you for the first place, right? They want to hear what you have to say for them to do. But have you ever encountered someone who repeatedly comes back to you but like refuses your advice?
Well, not that they repeatedly return,
hmm
but there are people that have come to me and we resolve something, and then they almost as they're going out the door, they'll say, "Well, it's good we got that resolved today because I always have that, you know." And it's like they as they walk out, they're rebuilding it.
Yeah, I could say yesterday when we were doing stuff sort of like because I was thinking things tied to the emotions of what we were cutting off and disconnecting and shifting. And I similarly was like, huh. But it's the shift between life and the spirit, but they are at the same time. But it's like kind of sometimes mentally in that space of the past. But it's like, no, we have to push toward the spiritual aspect that is already done. It's different now. You have to adopt that into your mind and your body. It's very important. Yes.
So I think it, especially with children, it's important if you're a person of light and you have a lot of spiritual power and you say to, a lot of parents say things that are like damaging and they don't even think about it. Like you're not quite as smart as your sister, or I don't think you're cut out for music, but you might be able to, do this other thing. And what you're doing is you're projecting with your spiritual power a thought form that's covering this child. And it
Mm,
may be completely different from where they want to be spiritually, whether or not they're even aware of it.
hmm. Very true. The power of our words and not realizing that
And
they
particularly sensitive kids, they're going to take that on more than a kid that isn't particularly spiritual or isn't particularly powerful. So
Mhm,
the more power the parent has, the more influence they have and can potentially be negative influence, even when it's the farthest thing from their mind.
mhm. Yes.
I had one couple came, I was at a big gathering and they came running across the lawn. Someone said something about me. I don't know. Again, I didn't know them at all. And with a little boy in tow. It was maybe 7 years old, 6, 7 years old. And they said, "You have to fix him. You have to fix him. He's autistic and he's ADHD." And I looked at him and the part of his soul that was his head was 6 feet from him. Like
Mm,
here was the little boy, and I could see his soul in his body, but no head. And
mhm,
and then I look around and there's his head. So I was like, this is really strange, even for me. But I said, if it's all with you, I'm just gonna pick up the part of his soul that's his head and put it back on his head, in his head, where he should be. And and they said, "Oh no, that doesn't sound strange at all because it says his head and his soul are separate in his astrology," which I'm like, I would have never thought of that. But anyway, I picked it up, put back, kind of worked like a gimbal until it felt like everything was like reconnected the way it was supposed to be. And the most wonderful and strangest thing was that all of a sudden he was not ADHD. You could see his eyes stop flickering, his breathing calmed down. He started to make contact with me, and he spoke in just a normal fashion. And I don't believe he was autistic either.
mhm.
So it's like when we adjusted his energy properly, he functioned. It was like now he's a real boy.
Yeah. And it's interesting that they said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. My daughter is calling me, but she knows I'm on this call right now." I'll just edit this out. She's probably gonna keep doing it, but I hope she doesn't. So, uh, oh goodness. Sorry, I lost my track. Oh, I can imagine that he also was somewhat out of his body because it was not comfortable, you know?
Oh yeah.
He likes, and it's also like his parents were like, fix him. There's something wrong with him. Like that whole energy and dynamic, I'm sure was not helping from him, wanting to integrate into his body. I have heard that many times about myself. Like, you're not in your body, you need to ground. And I started to take it personally. Like, I try my best to ground. I do, everything that I know to do. And but the issue is my consciousness is very high dimensional and connected constantly and constantly scanning. So it's like I have to be extra intentional about bringing my mind down.
Well, or stop scanning when you don't need to be scanning. You don't need to be scanning when you're cooking dinner or sleeping or many things. So I was trained a little bit in Brazil with some shamanism, and one of the things they do is you say if you're going to do something like scanning or something, you start it with a starting point and you end it with an ending point. And then, so you're basically determining that you say when you're being in a mediumship energy and when you're not. And there are a lot of
Yes.
times when you should not be, not when you're driving, not when you're doing a lot of things that don't really involve that. At the
Yeah.
same time, you can be working on a problem, and a lot of people do this. They are remote viewers, so they want to solve something, they feel stuck, and then they close their eyes without thinking about it. They phase into another dimension. They get the information they need. They open their eyes. At that point, sometimes if you pay attention, you'll see it looks a little watery or like a little lavender for a few minutes, and then your eyes clear, and then you've got the answer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I would agree. And I think I do that a lot. And you're making me reconsider how, because like we talked about yesterday, I like to do snow removal and that sort of repetition and continuous movement helps my brain get into the zone where I can channel a lot. And yes, I do it a lot when I'm driving, when I'm in the shower, when I'm trying to go to sleep, and so you're saying, set office hours would
Yes,
really,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I need to consciously do that and say that. And the importance of, setting those hours, even if you're not trying to do that, I think it would be helpful because I I did not realize that I was doing this. It's not intentional, is what I mean to say, you know?
Really, really strong psychic power is it you eat up tons of calories doing that. You run a lot of calories, you eat up a lot of trace minerals, things like that. If you're doing it all the time, it's hard to have the right nutrition to even support it because your brain is a big calorie consumer, and it's just your brain is going like crazy when you're in those high states. So
Hmm.
if you're doing it all the time, it's really hard to even feed yourself properly. But if you're just doing it when you need to be doing it, and the rest of the time I'm a regular me,
Yeah.
then it's not so stressful.
Yes. Amen to that. That's a very, very good idea. I'm going to do that. I'm going to look at my schedule. I'm going to adopt some hours and set them because that would be highly efficient.
People say to me, do you just walk down the street and seeing entities and problems in everybody's chakras? Absolutely not. Why would I want to?
Yeah,
First of all, it's evasive and it's their privacy. But why would I want to get on a bus and see everybody that has an entity? Uh,
right.
there's
Yeah.
no advantage to that at all.
No.
So I don't go around in that kind of state. But if someone says, I really need you to look at me, then it's very easy to quit, change channels and look at them.
Hmm.
And I think that's one of the most important things that a lot of very psychic, very spiritual people need to learn is how to turn it on and how to turn it off and when to turn it on and when to turn it off.
Yes. And I've heard that before and I've tried it before, but it's one of those things. I'm guilty of this. I'm sure other people are too. Like you said, do you have supplements? Yes, I have all of the highest quality supplements, but do I take them? No. And I'm guilty of that. Like, oh, I bought this thing, it's going to help me, but the next step is you have to use it, and you have to continuously use it. So, by the way, I did buy some Ella campaign and
Hmm.
skull cap that's coming this weekend, and something
Good,
else,
good.
vervain. I have vervain and chamomile tincture I found
Hmm.
upstairs, but no skull cap. That's just a little bit of an ingredient with a whole bunch of other things that I have. So I did go out, I got capsules. So got that
Hmm.
going.
Okay,
But
good.
yeah, so I get in cycles where I don't do the thing that I need to
Mhm.
do to give me like take vitamins, take supplements. So yeah, I forget to set those hours. It's something you have to continually do, you know? Yeah.
Well, it's easy to be running on that psychic energy. And the thing is, one thing that helps is you need to start to tell your angels when you're run down, when you're tired, what you need, because they are not ascended masters. They have not been in a body. They don't have a clue how much stress you might be under physically. So if you start to train them and saying, wow, now this feels too intense, or this feels is making me tired, or now I need more sleep, they'll
Hmm.
start to help adjust your world around you so that you're not overstressed. And sometimes I tell people you're not sleeping, you wake up tired every day because you're doing so much on the astral. Say to your angels, okay, I put me in a big golden egg, soft, cushy pillows, shut the door, and I need nothing but sleep for 3 or 4 days. Nothing else needs to happen. And people come out of 3 or 4 days of pure sleep and they're like, wow, feels so much better.
Thank you for that reminder. I will be doing that. I forget. Isn't it crazy? I feel like it could be also like shifting different dimensions and timelines and different things. And it's like, is this the one where I didn't learn that very succinctly? I only heard it once, not 5 times. And then no, I'm just kidding. But
But you
it's,
don't have to make it a big
yeah,
extensive ritual. You can
yeah,
just start to say in quick statements. Going to sleep, only sleep. Tonight, only sleep. Washing dishes, only dishes.
yeah,
Cooking dinner, only cooking. Just
yeah,
keep reminding yourself.
yes.
I don't want to go off into my past life as an Indian chef and start trying to figure out how much curry to put in my oatmeal. You know,
Yeah.
you just
Sobbing as I make soup. And I'm like,
exactly.
I remember this past life where I was
You
a
don't
kid.
want to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not useful. It's not
Yeah.
useful.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for that encouragement. I will adopt that again.
I worked with a family one time. They had 6 kids, and they said everything is a mess. It's like everyone's fighting, everyone's having difficulty, all of this stuff going on. And so I said, okay, I'll interview you and kind of work with each kid individually, start with the oldest down to the smallest. And I'm doing this and I'm not finding any real problems until I get to their like 5-year-old. And I said, we're going to go in your room. And he goes, nope, I'm not talking to you. And I said, well, I think actually you are. And his mom, of course, was there. And so we get talking and he says, I can make you do whatever I want to make you do. And I said, well, not me. Maybe some people, but not me. He says, I can even make the cat do what I want it to make it do. And I said, yeah, I can see what you've been doing, but we're going to stop that.
Oh my goodness gracious. So it was like him influencing their
He
their
was he
energies.
was pushing people telepathically,
Mm-hmm.
and it of course it's invasive and it makes people edgy and it makes them
Mm.
angry. And he would just work on his sisters, his brother, and just and then mom get frantic and then they're punishing the wrong kid, and he was standing back watching this like a puppeteer in a
Oh
way.
my gosh, that's terrifying. And he enjoyed it thoroughly, huh?
Well, he was a little bit, yeah, I was a little bit proud of it, but I told him that we're going to make a new rule. When everybody's upset, it's always going to be his fault. So he's going to be punished with whatever other one
Yes,
is going to be
yes, that
punished.
would probably make him stop, huh?
But also talking to them about always recognizing that a lot of people, a lot of children don't realize that the thoughts that they hear in their head sometimes are not theirs,
Yeah,
often are
very
not
true.
theirs.
Yes,
Anytime you hear an incongruent thought, it's probably not yours.
very true. Yes.
And particularly young children, they need to be taught that, not like, oh, you thought about killing yourself? Oh, let's take you to a psychiatrist. No, you just say, no, you thought about killing yourself. Well, that wasn't your thought. Let's blow that thought away with our breath. Fill it with light. What color do you like? You like pink? Fill it with pink. And then let's ask the angels to help that person that maybe wants to hurt themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the kid's going to hear lots of thoughts. And if they begin to fear that that's them, then they're going to hear more of the similar kind of thoughts. And then
Yes.
they're going to be bombarded by it.
Yes. Yes. And I mean, it's also what do you have to say if regarding kind of like on a conspiracy type of level with frequency weapons along those lines, or taking advantage of people who have gifts, which is actually everyone, but to varying degrees? Or is this something that just always exists? Well, I know it's something that always existed, but then what do you think about the levels of manipulation? Um, am I wording that right? Like there.
Well, I mean, everybody is telepathic.
Mhm,
Everybody is telepathic. And the
mhm,
reason we don't all recognize that everybody's telepathic is that most people lie a good portion of the time. So they're trying to pretend they're not telepathic, or they're trying to block themselves so other people don't hear what they're thinking. If you begin to realize that you're telepathic, and so and people actually know when you're lying and they don't like you, they're like, I don't, there's something about her that I just don't like, and I don't think she likes me either. And
mhm,
because you're picking up their thoughts, they're picking up your thoughts, but we're all pretending that we're not.
mhm,
No. So there's a lot of manipulation going on with people that know they're telepathic, and they know they can, you know, influence. I used to do this with my mom as a joke. I would say, "Oh, I'm just washing dishes," and she'd know. And then I'd say, "Pizza, pizza, we want to have pizza." And she'd, like 4 minutes later, "I think we should have pizza tonight." And then I'd start
oh,
laughing, and I said, "Your brain is mush. You got to stop doing that.
you're
You can't,
so
you
funny.
know,
Yeah.
recognize that it's yours.
Mhm, mhm,
It's a tricky situation with everybody projecting these thoughts. And then you have, a lot of times a powerful business person or powerful businessman, they are very, very strong telepaths.
mhm,
I knew him very close, we were friends, and he was a lawyer, and he said, when I go into that courtroom, I can control everybody's mind in that courtroom. That's why I get such a good result for my clients. No.
mm,
So he literally could tell what they were thinking, what their next question was going to be, and was able to manipulate that in a lot of different ways. People that are very telepathic and aren't aware of it, they pick up thought forms and entities from these people, and they get covered in them.
mhm.
Oh, I had one nurse that I went to do a reading for her, and she had so many entities on her. I said, let's just start with a candle and I'll just pull them off and throw them in the flame. And I was just pulling these entities off her, and she'd go, that was the lady that died in B32. Well, that was the guy that had cardiac arrest. And it took me about 20 minutes to
Oh
pull
my
all these
gosh.
different thought forms and entities off of her. And then she's like, wow, I feel so much better.
Wow. Oh my gosh. And it makes so much sense. I remember being in the hospital one time. I was visiting my aunt, and it was a higher level of care, not quite the ICU, but there was somebody coded out, and
Hmm.
the energy, not only the alarm, but the general energy in the whole place was quite a lot for me. And it was a newer, like I'm not often in the hospital, but I asked the nurse when they came in later, I was like, did someone just die? Like I heard that there was an emergency. I know you guys are busy. I'm sending good, hopeful thoughts that everything's okay, but I'm also receiving that someone just died. And then she's like, well, I mean, yeah. I forget what she kind of brushed it off, and I was like, "Yeah, I just started feeling a little weird, so that's why I'm asking. I'm sorry." And she was like,
Well, in a
brushed it off,
way,
you
this
know.
might surprise you, but I would not suggest you send those good thoughts to that person, because whatever's going on with them, I mean, they may just be their time to be going wherever they're going. And if you're sending like some sort of healing energy to them without their permission, then you're
True.
sending the string of light that can distract them and bring their energy back. And in that confusing situation where they are at that moment, they might think, oh, well, this is the light I'm supposed to go to, so I'll just grab onto her. And then they
Yeah.
could be hanging on to you for a long time. I've had people
Sheesh.
that have had the ghost of their grandmother or something coming in and out of their body for a long time, and it makes them ill.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell people never heal someone that you don't know or you have no permission. Don't do it. Even your children, really. Although with children, you have a little bit of like, authority as their guardian
Mm-hmm.
spiritually. But
Mm-hmm.
but like if you have a teenager, you don't want to just like, I'm going to project healing and whatever to them unless you ask them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, then you can get into some long-term problems because nobody in the community, I mean, if you came into my living room, I'd go, wait a minute, you got your grandmother and you should we fix this now or do you want to hang with it? I don't
Yeah.
just fix it, but I will tell people, you got that going on. We have a
That
community meditation and I'll sometimes see something with one of the people. And I'll usually ask them, I said, you were in a fall where you fell forward and you have this problem. I can fix that. You want to fix it? I know. And they're kind of, I don't know. Okay. And, and then we fix it, and it's better. And I said, okay, that's better. Your alignment. He says, yeah, now I can feel my central channel. I mean, it's better. So, but if we don't have that, if we don't have any shaman in our community, we don't have any healers in the community, then this just goes on and on.
yeah. That's a new level of detachment that you're making me consider now because whenever, things go on around me, for example, if there's like a kid crying or I don't know, I'll send like love energy. I do that to other people all the time. I'll see people having a hard time. I'm like, oh, and I like send them stuff. So you're telling me I shouldn't do that,
Well,
but
I mean, sending light in general. Like, I just want to send light and consciousness for everyone around the situation. That's one thing. If I'm going to want to go send something to heal that child, now you've kind of crossed the line.
yeah.
And think of it this way. If you've ever been really, really sick, and unfortunately I have really sick, um, it can be a galvanizing time for you to make decisions about what you're doing wrong, what you're doing right, what you need to do. So you've worked up this illness or this situation in your soul to get to that moment so that you
Hmm.
can have that clarity and
An
make the right
alchemical.
decisions.
Yeah.
Right. And then someone comes along and like throws a whole bunch of love and light on it. And now it doesn't seem like that bad. So
Hmm.
then you go away, half sick or something, and then you've got to work up to it again. I know. And if you're in like the neighborhood with somebody and you're doing that, pretty soon they are irritated with you and they're not liking you. Um,
You're actually, that may have been what I have done in past lives with my friend who sends me daggers. That may have contributed to her shortcomings overall, is her not building the strength because I helped her. Someone said
right.
that to me before. Like, you need to let her go because you keep helping her, you keep doing all this stuff, and she's siphoning from you, and she's not getting stronger on her own. And I was like,
Right.
you know,
So it's not a win. And in a way, I mean, I had to really, it's hard to look at, but because I always wanted to heal everybody for a while. But I began to realize that's very overblown egotistic
yeah.
of me to think I am know so much that I could step in and change energy or manipulate energy in their system because I know better what's good for them than what they know.
Hmm. Absolutely.
It's
Yes.
not my job, and I don't know that I ever saw any of those people that I did things like that for get well as a result of what I did. They might feel better in the moment, but they didn't get well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because that struggle, those difficulties are our alchemical solution. That's the process that we must go through. And it's actually a gift. So, yeah, I appreciate you so much shedding light on it in that perspective.
You think of it like if you had a piece of glass in there, they had a piece of glass in their foot and you just made their foot numb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's
like you didn't actually help them. You made it worse because now they're going to
you
walk
may,
around
yeah,
like
you're
they're
not helping
fine
them
and they're
at
not.
all. No,
Yeah.
it's not good,
Yeah.
you know.
That is very true. Yes.
So what I do, if someone seems like they have a lot of challenges, then I just say, well, that looks or appears like that person has challenges or issues. Angels, send them whatever mercy and healing that you think they can have.
Hmm.
It's not my job. I'll make the request on their behalf, but whether or not anything changes, that's up to the angels.
Absolutely. Yes. So enlightening. So enlightening talking with you today, Marie. I'm so thankful for all of your wisdom and guidance, and I just love hearing examples of different scenarios and situations that you've been able to help on this higher level that really grounds down into people's everyday lives and really makes such a big difference in how we show up and what we see as an opportunity. So I just thank you so much.
You're welcome. Well, thank you
Yeah,
for having me.
absolutely. And please tell us a little bit. Obviously, we've heard about the work that you do and how we can reach you. And you also have a podcast. So would you mind talking about that a little bit?
Well, it's funny how things, again, spiritually, how they work out because I went to take care of my mother when she was 70, and at 90, I was still taking care of her. She died at 93. So I spent 23 years like in lockdown taking care of her. And as she got older, it was more and more that I could not even leave or get on the phone or anything. And I was saying to my daughter, I just really would like some way to get a lot of information I have out to help people. And then a few days later, my friend called and said her husband was doing a podcast. He wanted to know if I would be on Chip's podcast. And I said, sure, anything for Chip. And then I called my daughter and said, I'm going to be on a podcast. What is a podcast? I'd never even heard of them. I had no idea. And so I did this one with Chip, and uh, it went well. He actually said something like his listenership went all the way up to 12 people or something, you know. So I thought, okay, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But then I thought, so I said to Angie, why don't we just do this? Why don't we talk about spiritual stuff together, you and I on the phone? And she said, well, I don't really know anything about that. And I said, well, that's not true. I've been coming home talking about entities I just removed over dinner since you were one. And I said,
Yeah,
you actually know a lot more than you realize. So we
yeah.
just picked up she sent me a smartphone, and we just picked up the phone and started talking, and well, it got better at it in terms of production and everything, and we have about 60 episodes.
Wow, that's awesome. That's so awesome to hear. And the way that you and I got connected was through your daughter. She reached out to me and offered a trade, which
Mhm.
look at the value of that trade now is much more than if we both spent money on each other's services. I just love that opportunity. And I thank you for asking. And so we had a reading. I did a reading for her. She was interesting to read. She was one of the hardest people that I've ever read, just based on the look on her face. I could emotionally, I was getting it, but it was hard for me. The look on her face, I was like, are you receiving what I'm saying? But I know that she did, and it's all good. We've talked since then, but yeah, it's
She's very, very intelligent and she's very contained. So
yeah,
she kind of examines things and then decides the response. So people tend to think that she's aloof or uninterested, and that's not the truth at all. But there's
yeah,
this kind of delay as she's like
processing.
processing all the information she's taking in.
Yeah, and I got that too, and it made sense, and it was all actually very clear. I think one of the clearest things that came through was I was trying to express the importance of trusting her own intuition and not feeling pressure to work in something that is tangible. I was like, you don't
Hmm.
have to make something. Like, you don't have to do things to be valuable or successful or to show what you did. Like, you being you is success. Like, you being your full self is success. And anything that you love, you'll bring so much energy to that, like, so, and then it was, you know, interesting.
Anything someone can imagine being, if you can close your eyes and see yourself doing it, then you actually have the capacity to achieve it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just a matter of picking from those things that you can close your eyes to do,
And what feels best.
what feels
Yeah.
best.
Yeah. I love it. I love the connections that we've made, and I appreciate it very much. And I'll put all of your links in the show notes, and I hope we get to chat again very soon.
Sure, if you want to do another podcast sometime, that's fine.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Marie. And I love your background. It's really inspiring me.
It's not actually Todos Santos, but it looks a
Yeah.
lot like Todos Santos.
Yes, it looks very good from, Pennsylvania where I am. So,
Mhm.
oh, well, I hope you take care. We'll talk again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, take care. Ooh, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I thoroughly enjoyed talking with Marie. I have not gotten a copy of the reading that she did for me. I really wanted to share that with you all, but I don't think she ever sent it to me. I asked a few times, but that's all right. Some things aren't meant to be shared, you know? I would. Just because I would doesn't mean it should be. Anyway, this conversation definitely opened my mind in new ways, especially around energetic boundaries, sensitivity, and how important it is to learn discernment instead of automatically fearing or dismissing experiences that we just don't fully understand. I would love to hear your thoughts on this because I know we went into some deep territory. If this episode resonated with you, feel free to share it with someone who may need it. Leave a rating, review, subscribe, and connect with me through the links in the show notes. Also, check out Marie. Her links for her podcast and her chakra checkup service is available in the show notes as well. As always, take what resonates, leave the rest, and trust your own experience as valid. We'll talk again soon. Until then, take care and enjoy this track by Stilo Free, Lights and Shadows.
Pressure made diamonds, lay back, smoking loud in the silence. It's all love, but no trust. Why you think I'm doing too much? Cause pressure made diamonds, lay back, smoking loud in the silence. I roll up and go up. Why you tripping, give me no love? Nowadays you don't gotta mind me. In the end I hope you really find peace. I had to set my mind free. I had to let my soul breathe. Moon sign Pisces, heart broke psyche. Angels all around me, but demons wanna fight me. Feel like I had to fight myself. No, I had to look inside myself. With a predisposition to addiction. Through the negatives, I'm still focused on the vision. It's sorta like that first scene you see in Pulp Fiction. I see the end, but it's really only the beginning. I had to find a way to be grateful for them locked doors that you may close. When doves cry, it's so painful, but the purple rain is so graceful. Cause pressure made diamonds, lay back, smoking loud in the silence. It's all love, but no trust. Why you think I'm doing too much? Cause pressure made diamonds, lay back, smoking loud in the silence. I roll up and go up. Why you tripping, give me no love? I'm fighting battles, lost between the lights and the shadows. Trying to shoot me down, I'm dodging all the ammo. Left me hanging, I escaped from the gallows. Swim through the ether, blowing on a reefer. Running like Rev when he rapped about Adidas. It's like my flow is heaven sent. My energy can shift the cards in your tarot deck. Life ain't always what it seems. An alternate reality, I'm living in a dream. I got the Stussy on the T with the 501 jeans. Ray-Ban Lokes with the Air Max 3s. Mandela effect, my best. I gotta jump timelines when I'm living in stress. And a spliff in my chest, it got me lifting and blessed. Peace, you know the rest.